Hello, it's 12:15. You know what time it is. Excuse my one stray hair up there, but it is time for the Sports Hour, of course, presented by Curtis Collings. I'm looking forward to it today. I got the Panthers Whites on today. Of course, Chuba Hubbard, our Canadian running back. We love the Canadians. We'll be talking about the Carolina Panthers, aka the Canthers. Training camp later on today. But to start, we're going to be talking about the Blue Jays. Because, oh my goodness, there we go, got it. We'll be talking about the Blue Jays because I am so happy with how that game yesterday went. Um, Big surprise, too. I was not expecting it to go the way it was, the way it did go. So we'll get right into that as I kick stuff around. So, getting into it, first things foremost, the Blue Jays won 2-1 over the Chicago Cubs. We take the series 2-3 over the Cubs as well, and that's huge that we just keep up our winning ways. Before we get into the actual game, looking around at the rest of the MLB, the Yankees didn't play and the Red Sox didn't play. So this was kind of a must-win day if we wanted to, take a jump in the standings. Um, we were kind of the only team yesterday that played that I really cared about so much. I mean, the Tigers played, but they're in the Central, so that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. We're really hunting for that American League East lead, and yesterday was a great day to take a lead, and take a lead we did. Looking at these standings, before we jump into anything else, we are now 71-51, 20 games above 500, which is unreal to me. We've been 6-4 in our last 10, which is good. Of course, we've seen it be better, but I'll always take that. And we're such a good team at home. 40-20 at home, 30-31 on the road. So, especially in the playoffs, being 500 on the road, it'll be a bit scary. But then again, there's teams like the Yankees who are 27-32 on the road, and the Red Sox even are 27-34. So it could be way worse. I should be pretty happy with being 500 on the road. That's not an easy task. But we're 5 games up on the Red Sox and 6.5 up on the Yankees. So a huge day. And then we continue today with the big games facing off against the Rangers. A huge series against them that is going to last all the way until Sunday. So another 3-gamer here, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we get the Pirates. So we can breathe and we can relax. And we don't have to be this high stress, crazy stretch of teams that we've had to face. Of course, the Cubbies, good team, but of course, beat them Tuesday and beat them yesterday. So, jumping into the game. And I talked about it yesterday, and I talked about being dreadful because of how badly we lost on Wednesday night. And then we had old man Max Scherzer in. And, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. But he's old. He's old as dirt. So I get nervous about having him pitch sometimes. But he went 7 innings, which for Max Scherzer in this year, in 2025, 7 innings out of Max Scherzer is unreal. I cannot believe that we actually got him to go that long. And it was only 1-run ball. That's the crazier part here. 7 innings of 1-run ball for Max Scherzer, which he's done before, but in losing efforts. His last 4 games, he's gone 7, 6, 6, and 7. So, Max Scherzer's been putting in that work for us, and it's previous to that is why I'm so shocked, because it was 5, 6, 4, 5, 5, 3 innings. He's been a workhorse for us lately, so Max Scherzer takes the mound. 5 hits allowed, 1 run. Beautiful work. And that allowed us to, cruise into a 2-1 victory that you wish the offense shows up more than just 2 runs, much like the first game when they do have, 5 runs. It's something that you want to see them repeated. And I'm just seeing this question pop up in the chat here from Nolan Thode about Max Scherzer, the man we're talking about. And if he can keep putting up 6, 7 inning performances of 1 run ball, I mean, it won't be that every time, but if he can keep his ERA around that 3.5 mark consistently and pitch 6 innings, get not quite quality starts, but close to it, he's definitely a guy that could find his way into being the fifth starter in that playoff rotation. If not, a long reliever that comes in when needed, either he or Bieber can play that role. So it's really up to Bieber and how well he plays to end the season on who gets that last spot in the rotation going into the postseason, because the rest of it's pretty solidified. Breos, Gosman, of course Bassett, and then you get guys like Scherzer, Eric Lauer, who's been great for us this season, the lefty, but he also might go out to long relief. So we'll have to wait and see. But yesterday, Max Scherzer gave me the impression that he could be a playoff starter, which is crazy enough to say. Maybe gets phased out as the games get more important. But the bigger thing that has me worried about the playoffs. And then we have also Dave Collings here talking about a 3-man rotation, which does make more sense when you have Barrios, Gosman, and then a bunch of other guys. Of course, Bassett, who I would probably trust in that role. And then that makes guys like Eric Lauer and Max Scherzer into long relief guys. And I also trust them in that spot. I feel like that's kind of why we picked up Bieber as well, because he's going to be a playoff long relief guy, a guy that you can trust. And it's better than having guys like, Little or Nance take these opportunities. Like, I would much rather see these guys, which we saw Little today, and Little actually played quite good. Two strikeouts, 1 walk, which set up then Sir Anthony Dominguez, our new pickup, who comes in, flamethrower, gets a strikeout, and then that's it for him, which then set up, of course, Jeff Hoffman to close out the game. Relievers played great, didn't give up any runs either, which, has been a strong suit lately. I've been actually quite happy about that. What I'm not happy about is, of course, the bats. Like I said earlier, before I started talking about the pitching, 2-1 is bad. Most players, like Schneider 0 for 2, Bichette 0 for 3, France 0 for 3, Varsho, ignore Varsho. But, ever reliable Vladdy, who's been so good in August, steps up again, knocks home the 2 RBIs on a huge base hit. So we love Vladdy. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Because, he's the guy that, he's, a home run. It was the only run was the home run in the bottom of the 7th there, the 7th-inning stretch, in a game that was, it was looking tough. Very slow up until that point. But, back-to-back home runs in that game also, which was electric. Shout out to Vladdy for making a 2-run run instead of theirs, which was a 1-run blast. And so, looking forward to today's game, which is going to be, again, 7:07 p.m., so more of that primetime late-night game, and this is, of course, against the Texas Rangers. Starting this game, talked about before, the third man I would have in the 3-man rotation for the playoffs, Chris Bassett, who coming into this game with an 11-6 record, a 4.17 ERA, and 128 strikeouts on the season. Of course, this is facing off against Jacob deGrom. So it's going to be an interesting day for the Blue Jay bats and how they perform. I just talked about being underwhelmed, and now we're facing off against one of the best pitchers I've ever seen in my life. But the wind train hopefully don't stop rolling. The Rangers are 61-61, so they also have some issues going on in their side of the field. So it could really go either way here. I do like the Blue Jays, of course, and I don't like the Rangers, of course. So I got the Blue Jays winning all day here, and of course, if we look at real, it looks like the set over-under for this game is a 7.5, and 76% of people, that is 1.1 thousand people, think that it's going to be over that 7.5 number. We also have 79% of people picking the Blue Jays to win. That's 2.3K people picking the Blue Jays, and 612 picking the Rangers. It looks like it's going to be a really fun game. Of course, this is going to be in Toronto, where the Blue Jays play their best baseball at home. Rogers Center, especially after the renovations, has just been a dream for this Blue Jay team. So, looking forward to that. Today, of course, we have to watch out for the Boston Red Sox. They're facing off against the Miami Marlins. Marlins have been tailing off a bit lately, which is disappointing because we want to see them beat teams like the Red Sox. So we'll wait and see how that goes tonight. And then, of course, the Yankees are facing off against the Astros in what should be a really good series that we... They're facing off against the Cardinals. That should be a really good series. All the same, the Cardinals are 61-61, much like the Rangers, a team that could either finish the season hot or cold, make or miss the playoffs. They're very much so in that do or don't range, and if they don't, then well, it might be this series that does it for them as they're facing off against the 64-57 Yankees. The Astros are facing the Orioles. Excuse me for that. So, we want to see those teams lose, of course. Boo! Boo the Yankees and boo the Red Sox. We got to keep to these winning ways. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs. If the season were to end right now, I don't know who we would play. I'm not that smart. But we would have the 1 seed overall in the American League, which that's pretty cool. Thoughts about the Blue Jays is, closing thoughts is just Barger, heat up again. You're so much fun to watch when you are the hottest hitter on the team. It's been Vladdy lately, which I'm plenty happy about, but wow, I miss when Barger was getting RBIs every single game. George Springer, head is good. He's getting ready to play baseball again. I heard that he was doing a rehab stint in Buffalo with the Bisons, but it's going to be a short one. He should be back with the Blue Jays really soon. Of course, we do need to talk about Trey Savage, who I need to pull up the stats for right now for his AAA debut because I'm really excited to see that. So we are pulling that up. That was, of course, yesterday. Today should be Shane Bieber, who I'm also really excited about. I cannot wait to see how that goes. Let's see, 2025. Buffalo, pulling up here. If I can find it. I feel like I'm old trying to use technology here. Okay, he maybe didn't have the greatest of games. Pulling it up here. He went 1 2/3 innings pitched. He allowed 1 hit, 2 earned runs because he walked 4 batters while only striking out 3. So he got 1 inning of work in, and then 2 outs, and then yanked. So we'll wait and see. Of course, it's his first game, so it's gonna be really tough to judge him this early. But he comes out of it with a 10.8 ERA. So maybe it was wrong to be so hyped so early. And maybe this is just something that happens with Blue Jays prospects other than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But we'll wait and see. It's game 1. It can't get worse than that. Dang. That's, we're just going to sit with that for a minute. Macho Man Trey Savage, we will still be rooting for you. And your next start, we'll hope goes a lot better than that one. So, yeah. And then, of course, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Shane Bieber today. I'm going to pull that up right now because that's going to be a very exciting one to keep our eye on because, that's our man that we acquired, a former Cy Young candidate guy. If only they made it easy for me to find. Starting lineup. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. No. I saw a picture of Alek Manoah, and I got excited because I thought, Alek Manoah, he's getting a start. Because I want him back. I miss Alek Manoah quite a lot. All right. I can't find it. I'll assume because I remember Dave Collings, my dad, saying that he was going to be starting today. So we'll take his word for it. It was either today or yesterday, one of the two. But we're going to hope he also pitches well so he shows us some signs for what he can bring come playoff time. Because that's really what all this is amounting to, is the playoffs and how important that is, which is everything. I would love to see this Jays team, get it done. You can just put that down.
For your dad, I think.
Yeah, just leave it. It's all good.
Okay.
Anyways. Playoffs. Very excited. Took 4 days. Anyways. So yes, this Justin Bieber does start today for the Bisons. Thank you very much, Dave Collings, aka my dad. We're gonna want the bats to heat up again because I'm seeing a lot of offers, multiple days in a row. We're getting really cold here, and it's not making me optimistic. Guys that went over yesterday. Davis Schneider, who, shout out to him, made a beautiful diving catch. Absolutely beautiful diving catch. But went 0 for 2. Ernie Collent 0 for 2. Bo Bichette 0 for 3. Ty France 0 for 3. Miles Straw 0 for 3. Joey Luperfido 0 for 2. And then Kirk got a pinch hit. He went 0 for 1. So, and then the guys that are hitting are going like 1 for 3 and 1 for 4. We're not getting... I don't know. It's reminding me a lot of what we're seeing in April and early May when the team was just not hitting and not, where it needed to be. It's not how it feels like it was about a month ago when it was as hot as it could be. So, a little disappointing there. So that's all I really have for the Blue Jays. We wish them luck against the Rangers. Actually, I'll talk about them a little more because we'll get into, I'm sure that we have the starters for the rest of the Rangers series. So, of course, it's DeGrom today, who worries me, of course. And then it looks like it's going to be Patrick Corbin, who is pitching a 4 ERA, a 97K. This guy's been up and down forever. I think the Blue Jays can absolutely jump on him Saturday. That's going to be at 3:07 p.m. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then, of course, on Sunday, that's going to be 1:37 p.m. and we're facing Nathan Eovaldi, who is 10-3 with a 1.71 ERA. He's been so good this year. He got injured semi-recently, so we'll see if he still has it. But early in the year, he was in the Cy Young talks. I mean, he was so good for this Rangers team. He was keeping them afloat, winning almost every single start he had, and on my fantasy team. So, of course, I like him. But we'll see what he does. The former Red Sox pitcher, that's going to be Sunday. And then we get the Pirates, who I'm going to assume we're facing off against Paul Skeens. So that's going to be must watch. But we'll get into that when we get into that. Of course, we'll be back Monday for that, Monday through Friday, here for the Sports Hour. Okay. We went over that. We're excited about this series. I think we could take at least 2 games. But we're facing off against 2 really good pitchers. So maybe we only take 1 game. And if we do, and it's only the game against Patrick Corbin, c'est la vie. It's still 1 game. I cannot live with us getting swept. I really want us to sweep them. But I'm sure Rangers fans would say the opposite. Okay. So. This is where I lose. Sorry, Austin. We're talking about the Panthers. This is where I might lose, yeah. But I gotta, because training camp today was joint practice between the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans. We were in Texas for the practice, which is great, It's a word other than practice. It's great training for game 1 in Jacksonville. Hot weather, humid training. It's not like the team doesn't play in Carolina, but I saw reporters for the team talking about how they need practice in the heat. And I'm like, heat? You're in Carolina. You're in Charlotte. But apparently it gets worse. And if we think we have it bad here in Canada, I don't know. It's different down there. Texas heat is something else. So they're down in Houston for joint practice. And so much has come out about it. Um, so much has come out, which I love, and we're going to go over it together. Um, no Jalen Coker is the first thing I want to talk about. He's got an injury or something with his side. He has almost all of training camp. It didn't stop him. It didn't stop him from performing in game one. It didn't stop him from playing well. He's just more so. It's not an injury. It's more so precaution. And then Dave Canales is more than confident that this is a guy that's going to make the team. So no worries there, but he's not. He's not there. And so that's opening up the door for some other wide receivers that we'll talk about later to get some real opportunity. So that's exciting. Of course, Bryce Young continuing to play great. I'm seeing so much good stuff about him. It looks like the end of last year wasn't a fluke, and I hate that anyone ever thought it was. If you know me and you listen to me talk or text, then you know I've never once thought that that was a fluke from Bryce Young. I thought that was the norm, and I thought this guy's going to be elite. And it looks like he will be because he's continuing to tear it up in training camp. And then, of course, that first preseason game. And I really want to see him do it again tomorrow at 1 p.m. As we take on the Texans. So, I do know he threw a pick six. I don't know if he threw it. I know that the Panthers threw a pick six. And whether that's Andy Dalton, who I'm hoping it is, Plummer, who I'm also hoping it is, or Bryce Young, who I'm hoping it isn't. There was a pick six. So that's not good. But that's the only negative thing for the offense I've seen. The defense, I'm seeing a lot of negativity come out about the defensive line. It looks like they're not been able... They take this as you will. It's training camp. I don't treat interceptions too seriously. I don't treat fumbles too seriously. I guess I should treat fumbles more seriously, but I don't. I don't treat interceptions as seriously either because it's training camp. You're trying to do stuff that you wouldn't usually do. The Panthers got an interception. I know that. And then we threw a pick six. So both teams were picking each other off. Something I do take very seriously is sacks. Because that means your defenders are winning their battles or the offensive line is winning its battles. And it doesn't look like Bryce Young is getting sacked too much. And we knew that. The Panthers' O-line's good. But CJ Stroud didn't get sacked like once, I think. Or at least it didn't look like it in all the reports that I was reading about how training camp was going today. And this is all from, I think, yesterday and this morning, or all from yesterday. I don't remember. We'll look at the tweets, and the tweets will tell us. Either way, I'm going to be talking about it today and not yesterday. So, back on track. It worries me. I didn't hear anything good about Nick Scorton coming out. I didn't hear anything good about Princely coming out. DJ looked bad in all the clips I saw. The rest of the D-line, it's just, we weren't getting sacks. It was the only sacks that we were getting were defensive back sacks, where the defensive backs were playing such good coverage that CJ Stroud never had anyone to throw to, and so just threw it away or had to take a sack after waiting like 5+ seconds. Which are those really sacks, or are those just your defenders, your defensive backs, the corners, the safeties, and the middle linebackers and some of the coverage back linebackers, doing their jobs? And I think it's more of them, which gives me optimism that we're going to shut down pass games a little better, especially if the defensive scheme is better. But again, it's shutting down the run. It all starts with that D-line. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some Panthers Twitter time. Ignore the black screen there. We will be, there we go. So, also, ignore at the bottom of the screen there. We will talk a little bit about AEW later on. But the first thing, and this is one of my favorite follows right here, is Mike K. He's at the camps, tweeting all about them, and he's been my number one source of information for a lot of the stuff that I'm getting. And so he says, Bryce Young to Teteroa McMillan on a crossover. He beats Stingley and runs to the end zone, 80 yards for pay dirt in 11. So that's full team versus team. Let's not have that full screen, because having that full screen, you're not going to be able to see anything. But we can look at it right here. As Bryce Young drops back and finds McMillan, who I was wearing the jersey of earlier. I mean, just gallops in the end zone. This is the stuff that gets me so excited. So ungodly excited for next year. That connection especially. And here's what we're talking about with Kirk not playing. Is guys will step up that you've never seen before. And I thought at first that was Mitchell Evans because, big body, white guy who, I've never seen him before. And that's Mitchell Evans. We drafted him late this year out of Notre Dame. And I'm like, he wears 87. That looks like him. But no, that is, we'll pull it up here. We'll pull it up. We're going to find him right here. And that is Bryson Tremaine. Who good for him. He adds he's another wide receiver in the wide receiver competition, which, wow. We talked about this yesterday, and I asked people on Reel about the wide receiver situation because we have so many good ones. Now, of course, I think he's going to get cut, or at least he's going to be on the practice squad, but it's it's funny that, in the absence of Jalen Coker, guys are getting opportunity. And we could see here Bryce hitting Rico Dowdle, who looks like he's really coming out as being a good receiving back, which is not something I was really anticipating coming into this year. But watching back this play, Bryce Young, of course, making stuff happen. But, Rico Dowdle catching passes in the preseason, which makes me super excited. And then even here in training camp. And then here's Bryce being happy, reuniting with his Bama teammate. Of course, that's Will Anderson Jr., who if we face the Texans, who I'm not sure if we do, but he's going to give us a lot of issues. But it's really good to see Bryce just, reuniting with former teammates, smiling, happy, versus, how his rookie season went. Like, this is just such a change of pace, and it makes me just happy as a fan. Here is an Xavier, like a touchdown, slow-mo, able to, corral it with the hands, keep it off the ground. I'm pretty sure that there is a non-slow-mo view of this later, which I will be happy to show you guys because this is unreal stuff. And who's the first guy that comes selling with him? Oh, yeah, Tyrell McMillan. Let's look at that one more time. And then looking up here, so there's a few articles that came out that I would highly recommend reading, and this is all from yesterday, so 21 hours ago, is training camp, joint practice brings the heat and a few errors. So it looks like playing in the heat, there's mental lapses. Of course, we're a very young team, so this is expected. This is very expected. But it is something to worry about, is all I'll say. And then, of course, we see here the Bryce Tremaine wide receiver competition, which more wide receiver competition. Compare this to 2 years ago, Bryce's rookie year, when the wide receivers were Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. I mean, this is just it's like being in heaven. This is awesome. And then last year, of course, it was Leggett and then Coker and Thielen, which was better. It was a step up, but no one had over 700 yards. So this year, I'm hoping for at least two guys over 700 yards. And then looking here, Pat Jones the second, and then defense find a flow against C.J. Stroud and the Texans. So they did get into a flow. It wasn't all negatives from what I was reading, which was a lot of negativity. But from the official Panthers account, it looks like they did find their flow eventually. But, it's going to be tough. It's going to be something to keep our eyes on moving forward. And then Bryce and CJ Stroud have been friends for a very long time. And when CJ Stroud was playing really good as a rookie, it was really tough. But he always backed up Bryce Young. He was always in his camp. So he's a guy that us Panthers fans, we should have respect for him. Of course, there's always going to be that competition. He was drafted one pick after Bryce. And it makes me mad that he's played better than Bryce. It does. Because I want Bryce to be, the number one pick, the best player in that class, just as a fan. But we'll see because they like each other quite a bit. So it's a brotherhood, friendly rivalry. But hopefully this will be the best quarterback in the AFC versus the best quarterback in the NFC for years to come. How cool would that be? Looking up here is something I'm a little less excited about. Here's a touchdown from CJ Stroud because the pass rush is so bad. And you see Westside Fetty, who's a great Panther fan, follow here, who says, sell the farm for Micah Parsons. Because if we're watching this back and we're looking at those guys, it's tough. It's a tough watch. Micah Parsons would fix this team. I just don't want to. I don't want to give up like scoring, but hey, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Micah Parsons elevates us to a very serious contender. Not in top five, but in there, legitimately, and that's the ability of one guy. He would fix so many issues. And then looking at some more clips here. Here's Xavier Leggett, this one here is of course the same throw from earlier. This is Primetime Carolina tweeting is that what I'm noticing more than the throw and the catch is Bryce Tremaine is out there with the starters for both teams, the defensive starters and the offensive starters, which is a big sign. I guess he's just playing that Jalen Coker role. Jalen Coker would be doing this, I guess, in his place if he was here. But, it's a guy stepping up and taking an opportunity, which great for him. Like, really great for him. Here we go. For the For Panthers Only podcast, they tweet out not being able to get to the QB versus this sorry Texans O-line is a huge red flag, which it is. We have to be honest with each other here. It is a huge, huge red flag. I mean, you could see how much time CJ gets to operate, and that's no good. And then here we go. Xavier Leggett running a crisp route on the bottom of your screen. And watch when this ball gets thrown as he fakes that outside route and then goes up into the end zone, makes the grab, and holds on to it. I'm pretty sure this was what was slow-moed earlier. But what I really want to point out is look at where that ball is in his route. You can see Bryce dropping back here, and then the ball is thrown now. And now it's caught. It's unreal stuff. And that's a lot of fans love throwing around the word elite anticipation when it comes to Bryce. And I honestly have to agree because that's what makes him special. It's the comparisons he got to guys like Drew Brees coming out of college, which, I mean, more so than just being number 9, is that elite anticipation, that elite accuracy. I mean, I could gush about him all day. This is I mean, I'll glaze all day if you want me to, but we're just seeing it on display. And that's the biggest thing, is that we saw it in college and it's been theorized forever, but it's actually coming to fruition, and the front office is actually giving him guys to throw the ball to. Shout out to Brett Thode in the chat there. Fancy sleeper, you're damn right he is. He is a guy who, even with his woes so far in his young career, has finished quarterback 23 and quarterback 20. It's livable. Like that's not gonna win you any fantasy leagues, not in the slightest. But if he continues on that pace from weeks 8 through 18, this is a guy that's gonna be top 10 in fantasy scoring, especially if that rushing offense, can translate. He had 7 weeks to close out the season with 5 rushing touchdowns. If that's a thing that he can do through 18 or I guess 17 weeks, I should say, sky is the limit. We're looking at a guy who has not quite the blazing speed of a Kyler Murray, but the rushing abilities of him. He's got the most unique rushing sense I've seen. It's very similar to guys like Brock Purdy, almost, where it's a rush out of necessity, but when they do it, it works. And if you disrespect Brock Purdy's rushing ability, you got to go look at the tapes and you got to go look at some stats, my friend, because Brock Purdy can move when he is in the pocket. It is surprising. So a brief pause because we are going to talk about that Texans game tomorrow. And it does have me slightly worried because we're going to lose again. I'm almost sure we're going to lose again. It's going to be a tough preseason. I mean, tough in quotes. Depends on what you watch, really. I'm watching for individual things, which I'm sure is also what the front office is doing. They're also probably looking for wins. Obviously, the coaching staff wants to win these games. But like the first preseason game, I was happy with it. We lost 30-10, but I was happy with it because there was individual things that I could take from it. Nick Scorton playing great. Jalen Coker and Bryce Young, they played great. Tedero McMillan, right here, he showed every bit of promise that was promised. So these are the things that it's like, sure, scoreboard's one thing. It's preseason. The winning, though, will matter more as soon as we get into that regular season. Of course, that over-under for the wins being, I think it's 8.5. I really want to see this team win 9 games, maybe even 10 games. And if you ask Panthers fans, they're penciled in to do that. But you and I both know that it's going to be a lot tougher than we expect. But I fully believe in my heart and in my brain that they can do it. So if we are going to be talking about fantasy football for a little bit here, Bryce Young is a guy that I think is getting slept on. I've seen in a lot of fantasy football drafts, and I guess this relates to real life football, because you can kind of, not exactly, but you can kind of relate fantasy production and fantasy value to real life value. I mean, there's a reason why Josh Allen is quarterback 1 and Lamar is quarterback 2, and guys like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are good in real life, they're good in fantasy. It's a very close comparison. It's not exact. Sometimes guys get a little overhyped in fantasy compared to how good they are in real life, and vice versa. But tell me why guys like J.J. McCarthy, who's never played an NFL game, is drafted ahead of Bryce Young, who, sure, has had his woes in the NFL and has been benched and has played bad, but also has played good and proven to be a very solid fantasy quarterback. I don't get that. I don't get the trust that J.J. McCarthy is commanding immediately. And I know the fact that almost any quarterback can go into Minnesota and be successful. We literally saw it with Sam Darnold. We saw Kirk get elevated to these outrageous numbers that, he's a good quarterback, but he's not that good. It's the system. It's so good. So yes, McCarthy will be solid year 1. But year 3, Bryce Young, who's proven that he can be good, he's a guy that, again, I said it, top 10. But I think a more safe bet is top 15. But, let's ride that top 10 wave. Like, fully riding that top 10 wave. And then with an actual wide receiver core, again, if they could do anything with this wide receiver core to, produce is the word I'm looking for. It's getting large amounts of touchdowns. It's getting large amounts of yards. Bryce Young, the biggest issue with him is that it's the yards per game, and the Carolina Panthers play in a lot of run-heavy, low-scoring dogfights that don't really promote high-scoring games. So that's a big reason why there wasn't a lot of through-the-air production. But this year should be different because they're going to be probably playing a lot more high-scoring games because they need to with their defense and have actual offensive options that will get separation and catch the ball. I think over 197 yards per game, so around that 200 yards game mark for Bryce, should be plenty realistic. Maybe close to 2 touchdowns a game through the air, and maybe one, not one per game, obviously, but maybe half a rushing touchdown. These are all realistic numbers in my head. And then also a great point here about the Minnesota Vikings. All the quarterbacks they run were vets. Brett is absolutely correct here. All of them were vets. I mean, Sam Darnold was a Panther and played some semi-good football for the Panthers and played some bad football for us. He was also a Jet for a long time and was a 49er and has had so many different coaches and so many different other quarterbacks to learn from. And then, of course, Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. He was a vet by the time he got there. So J.J. McCarthy, I mean, played a lot. Was a winner in college, but we've seen winners in college flame out all the time. So another reason to question why he's so trusted. Wild to me still. At least over a guy like Bryce Young. The other guys that'll get drafted after J.J. McCarthy, Russell Wilson, who for fantasy, has always been reliable. And I like the weapons that he has in New York. I think a guy like Russell Wilson being one of the last quarterbacks taken, of course there's the fear of him being replaced by a Jackson Dart or even Jameis Winston, which that one I doubt most. But Russell Wilson is a guy that I really don't understand why he's getting the disrespect that he is. Even last year on Pittsburgh, he was ranked 24, which was not great. But of course he battled injury to start the season, didn't play much in camp. but still had 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He plays a full season with Malik Neighbors to throw the ball to. Then a guy like Russell Wilson, even, I would trust him over J.J. McCarthy, which that might be my hottest take that I'll have, but legitimately, I don't know. When J.J. McCarthy finishes quarterback like 13 or 15, then I'm going to look dumb. But legitimately, I don't know. This trust that he has already, wild to me. And that's the be all and end all for my J.J. McCarthy takes. So, guy I don't trust. And now I guess this isn't necessarily going to be Panthers talk, but we'll talk about fantasy football for a bit. And some guys that if you are drafting, not that I'm an expert, but who I would draft if you have the 101, Jamar Chase. All right, that's all for my fantasy talk. No. I don't know. I don't have anything prepared really for fantasy other than these two guys. Tedero McMillan, I think, could be one of the biggest sleepers at wide receiver for where he is being drafted. I guess I'll still talk Panthers, even if it is fantasy. I've seen Tedero in the 50s to 60s range. I don't think I've ever seen him slip into the 70s. That would be impressive. I think I have seen him be drafted in the 40s before. Maybe that was me. But I've seen him in the late 40s, 50s, 60s. And I think that's a fair range, but I also think that the hype of a player like Marvin Harrison Jr. got coming out of the league last year and being a first and second round pick in fantasy football has completely soured people on the prospect of drafting a Tedero McMillan early. If everything goes right, and the connection between these two guys is as good as I think it's going to be, I fully see a universe where T-Mac, Nalo, Tedero McMillan has 1,000+ yards and 8+ touchdowns. That would put him most likely in the top 15, maybe 10 wide receivers in the league, even as a rookie. And that's a guy that you're going to be getting at the value of a 4th, 5th rounder is going to be in the top wide receiver conversations. Of course, if everything goes right. He is a rookie. He's learning a new playbook. He's learning a new quarterback. But of course, from everything I've seen, and I'm just all in I'm all in for the Panthers. I mean, he's a guy that'll be up there. I think Brian Thomas Jr. situation, of course, a guy that he could be compared to in his year one, where he's coming into a favorable situation, a young offense, and could go crazy. Just like Malik Neighbors as well last year, who had some unreal stats. It's the thing that gets me excited. Of course, everyone's going to say, well, he's going to the Panthers. And the Panthers' passing offense last year didn't have anyone over 700 yards. And that's the risk you take. But if you look at places like, I know on Sleeper, Tedero McMillan's projected to get 10. I know a guy like BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., he's projected to get like 15 already in year two. He's seen as one of those top dog wide receivers. I think especially if you're in redraft leagues, where you can get him in the if you're in a redraft league and you're drafting in the 60s, you jump all over Tedero. If you're in a keeper or dynasty, then Tedero McMillan should be, if he's at all in the 4th round, you take him the moment you can, because I think this is a guy that, much like Brian Thomas Jr., shout out to Brett Thode here, could very easily have that jump and very easily have that rookie impact. Now, again, in fantasy football drafts, guys like Xavier Legette are drafted really late, like in the like 10th, 12th round, late, and that's a guy who, if all goes right, could have 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. And for fantasy, that's a borderline flex guy, but at that position in the draft, that value, that's unreal. The problem with him is that he's going to be competing with Jalen Coker for touches, for opportunities, and Jalen Coker, watching him all last year, watching him in training camp, this is a guy that's going to steal opportunities. And then, of course, you still see Adam Thielen get drafted pretty highly. He's a guy that I would personally fade. I just think that slot weapon and the reliability that he came with last year is not as crucial to the team. He was huge for just giving the Panthers opportunities when it seems like it was dire and no one was gonna, give us a shot. This year, I feel like there's so many different guys that can step up and take that opportunity. The chat full. Now the chat, we're playing I Spy together. Sure, we'll look at Xavier Worthy. Now Xavier Worthy coming into this year, honestly, in fantasy, he finished as the wide receiver 33 last year with 638 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'm looking at Tedrock McMillan to come in this year and be almost double that. If he could be 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, I'd be laughing. No way he does that. And if he does, then I'll be happy to be wrong. But I even think that Tedrock McMillan in his rookie season, I want him to be on the level that I project a guy like Xavier Worthy on the Chiefs to be this year. 1,000 yards, around 8 touchdowns, if he's going to take that number one opportunity. Of course, I've seen Xavier Worthy get described as a gadget guy who's maybe not going to have the huge numbers like that, but is going to be important for this Chiefs offense. We'll have to wait and see for the season to start and what happens, of course, with Rashee Rice, who is going to be that wide receiver one. So that's the major question there. And then if you're still looking at Panthers to draft in fantasy, who might be undervalued for how good they are, Chuba Hubbard. I mean, people are coming around on Chuba Hubbard. It's the big thing. I've seen him start to get drafted where he deserves to get drafted. Last year was probably the steal of the draft for a lot of people. This year, most likely will just be a regular solid pick for a lot of people. I know I have him in a couple leagues. If you are playing in any guillotine or chopped leagues where the person in last place every week is out, if you're on Yahoo doing it in a public league format, it's going to be 14 weeks, and you're not going to have any Panthers playing in that final week. Might not be a huge issue, because, of course, in that final week, it is a 1v1, and you're going to be picking up all the players in free agency that have already been cut. But, again, something to note, don't rely on any Panthers. If the final week is week 13 and not week 14, then go ahead and start all the Panthers you want. It won't matter. Because our bye week, of course, this season, week 14, which is right around the time we have our Monday game against the 49ers, which is really exciting to not be playing a game on Sunday at 1 p.m. It's a huge change of pace. Personally, I think it's been since 2021 that I've been consistently watching every Panthers game, being all in on the Panthers, and in that time, I've never seen them play on Monday, and I don't think I've ever seen them play Sunday at primetime. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably not remembering. I know for a fact they haven't played on Monday. This is going to be, that's going to be so unique to me. And by that point in the season, it's going to be, I think it's week 13, so the 49ers are going to be healthy. You would hope. I mean, I hope for the Panthers fans that they are. So it should be a great game. If the 49ers aren't healthy, then there's a very good chance we win. If they are fully healthy, then it's going to be anyone's game. But that's where I see the Panthers this year. I mean, the 49ers last year definitely were not on the level that they usually are. Not on par with the 49ers we know them as. But I really think going into this year, that's the level, not that level, but I think we could compete with teams like the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, teams that, the Dallas Cowboys with Dak, the 49ers healthy. I mean, these are the teams, I could see them on the level. We're not quite on the level of like Chiefs and Eagles and Bills, but we're absolutely going to be on the level of teams like the Cowboys, hopefully. We should beat the Dolphins. I know we face the Dolphins. We should beat the Dolphins. I really hope we beat the Dolphins. Teams like the Patriots. Week 4 is the Patriots, I want to say. It's either week 4 or week 5. We should beat the Patriots. But again, these are teams that are going to be really good battles. Which again, in the past of me being a Panthers fan and watching this team, these would never have been discussions that we'd have. It would have been, well, on to next week and hope that we, have a miracle. So, really looking forward to a bunch of games. And I guess for the final 10 minutes here of our Sports Hour. I'll go over the Panthers schedule real quick, and I'll give you guys a little preview. Now, of course, I could talk about this for an hour straight, but I won't, because that would be too much for today. But maybe a different day, maybe closer to the start of the regular season. So, week 1 is Jacksonville. I really hope that's a W, but that's gonna be a good game. Week 2, Arizona, also going to be a good game. I really hope we beat them. Week 3 is the home opener, so our first home game. We're on the road, and then at home versus Atlanta, who we dog walked to end the season. Dropped 44 on their head. I hope we beat them. And then it is week 4. We face the Patriots on the road, so we're going to Foxborough, so that's going to be a really tough game. Week 5 is when we get, of course, the Dolphins, who I talked about earlier, that I hope we could beat. And then right after them is Dallas, who, again, I hope we can beat. These are the teams that this season we should be better than. I pray. And then we go into week 7, back on the road. This is against the Jets. Please beat Justin Fields, guys. Week 8 is going to be Buffalo at home, but it's Buffalo. So that's a bit scary. And then week 9 is Green Bay, and that's going to be such a toss-up. Because I like Green Bay, and I feel like they're a really good team that don't get the respect they deserve. And, I mean, I don't like Green Bay as a team, but I like the team that they got. I think they're really good. So that scares me. Week 10 is the Saints. Easy win. Shout out Austin. Easy win. And then we face them again later on. Easy win 2 times. Shout out to the Saints. After the first Saints game, that's week 10, we get Atlanta, our second Atlanta game for week 11. That one's on the road. And then week 12 is the San Francisco game, which is a Monday night ESPN game. Crazy to see. Makes me so happy that we're actually given a little bit of respect. A tiny little bit. After that, week 13 is against the Rams, which will be a very tough game. Then the bye week, week 14. And then afterwards, we get the Saints in week 15. That's the second easy dub. And then Tampa Bay, Seattle, Tampa Bay to end the season. As a Panthers fan, I look at that with a ton of optimism. And if I wasn't a Panthers fan, I would look at that schedule and think, that's going to be really fun. There's going to be a lot of really good games in there. And barn burners, I could see coming. Shootouts, I could see coming. And just like pure excitement. These games should be really good. There's not a lot of games in there that are like a Titans versus Colts game on a Thursday night. Like there's nothing like that. There's no boring 6-3 field goal fests. I don't see any of that in the Panthers' future. I think all these games are going to be so excellent. And so tomorrow, preseason predictions against the Texans. We're going to lose. But we're going to have some individual moments. Bryce Young probably going to play 1 or 2 drives or 0. I hope he still gets some run. I hope they keep him fresh and active, ready for the season. Maybe start the game with 1 or 2. A great question here from Dave Collings, which is, will you be doing a standings prediction show for the NFL? And I would absolutely love to. I think that could be a lot of fun. That would definitely take up a full hour. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. So we'll see. I'll absolutely do it. That'll be a next week or maybe even closer to the season start activity. So Panthers, really excited for that. Houston Texans. So the big things I want to look for tomorrow, of course, I want Nick Scorton to keep going off. I want Princely to keep showing moments and flashes of why he's good. I want Trevor Etienne to get more opportunity out of the backfield. I feel like he didn't get enough of that in the first game, but of course it's first preseason. I want Jimmy Horn to get more targets and more opportunities in the open field. In the first preseason game, he only, I think, had 15 yards on 3 catches on, I think, 4 targets. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but it's something wrong along those lines. And it didn't feel like they were using him quite how I would have hoped. They weren't really using him as that speed threat, or at least weren't targeting him downfields. Andy Dalton wasn't taking too many chances, it seemed like. So that's how I hoped. I just played more risky, honestly, because if we're going to lose, we're going to lose by a lot. We lost 30-10 the first game. let's go for it. Go risky. Go big. Go home. Go big or go home. And I would love to see them go big. And then I would love to see if Jalen Coker gets into the game with his current resting. Hunter Renfroe, he didn't play in the first preseason game. I would love to see him get some action here, get some routes in, dice up some defenders, and prove to be, solidify yourself as the backup slot receiver on this team. And maybe even prove to be better than Thielen, which we'll see. They're two different guys because Thielen just magically gets open versus Renfroe, where you watch his routes, it's like, wow, he earns every single ball he gets. So we'll see. We'll see how this season goes, and maybe Renfroe earns the starting slot job, which I would absolutely love. I would absolutely love to see that. But of course, that's for the future. All we can really talk about is what's going to go down tomorrow, which, again, if I'm going to predict the score, 30-10. Hopefully we score more touchdowns. So maybe it's going to be something like 30, maybe like 38-21, something like that, or 38-24. Maybe we get a field goal again. I just want to see more touchdowns from the Panthers. I want to see the guys celebrate. I want to see them happy because as a fan, that makes me happy. I think that's a good way of rooting for teams. Regardless, should be a very good time tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it a ton on Monday when we come back. So Carolina, I'm happy with it. Really good training camp footage, but it looks like we still have a lot of issues to sort out. Blue Jays, big series against the Texans coming up. Really excited for that. The Texans, what am I talking about? The Texas Rangers coming up. Really excited about that. It's the offseason, and it's the offseason. So these teams will get some special mention. A little closer to October. Of course, we will have a day we talk about Mitch Marner, and it will be mostly just stuff off the top of my head. But that day is not today. So we wait. We got about 3 minutes left here in our sports hour. I'm getting burpy. Excuse me, but I did want to say thank you for tuning in. Always. Whether you're watching this live or whether you are just listening to this in the background of doing something else, or if you're watching it in the future, thank you. Appreciate it. And I always will, no matter where it goes. No matter if I quit this tomorrow or if I do this for the rest of my life. I thank you for watching. And we'll have big things. I know we'll have standings predictions for not only the NFL, but also the NHL and the NBA coming up soon. We'll have season previews for, of course, the Carolina Panthers. We'll have season previews for the Leafs and the Raptors as well. As soon as the playoffs kick in for the Toronto Blue Jays, expect that to take over a lot of our time here because I cannot wait for Blue Jays baseball playoff action, which I've not been excited for in a while. It's been a really rocky year, especially a rocky offseason for MLB. So, that's the number one thing where I'm like, playoffs are coming. And it's when baseball gets good. We're about halfway through August now. About to reach that September stretch for the Blue Jays, where every single game matters even more. Even now, the games matter so much more for the Blue Jays than they ever have before. We got to win all these games, especially against good teams. It's what Pedro Martinez tweeted out the other day, why he believes in this Blue Jays team. And it's because they compete. And it's because they play good against good opponents. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it going. Okay. Blue Jays. We'll see for the playoffs. And then, of course, Collision tomorrow night. It's going to be really exciting. Some matches and stuff have been announced. But I already learned from talking about it Wednesday that I would rather just talk about it after the fact. So we'll talk about Collision and more on Monday. And so that really does wind it down. Thank you for tuning in to Curtis Collings Presents the Sports Hour. As always, it was a ton of fun. And we will see you again